Week 17 will be decisive in the top of each conference playoff races, the wild card races. Who's going to play spoiler? We're predicting all the games today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play $5.
Joe, I do have to ask. I'm looking at the spreadsheet as we get ready. We have the sheet up. We've been keeping tabs of all the games that we've been picking all year. And your abbreviation for the games yesterday is CMS.
Christmas?
That's your abbreviation for Christmas?
That's what I went with, Kyle. I don't have that many spaces. We already picked the games. I figured it was inconsequential, and here you are.
It's the first thing I noticed was like CMS.
I don't know, dude. I sat there and thought about it for a little bit of time, and I was like, it doesn't really matter. CMS.
Is there an official abbreviation?
I don't know.
I'm looking.
Is it Xmas? X?
Yeah, Xmas. It would have been Xmas.
Yeah, I went with CMS,
CMS, yeah. So we played our 2 CMS games already this week. We picked them on Tuesday. I hope you weren't hoping for good football games because you got none yesterday. Just 2 lifeless performances from playoff teams at home. Both teams just laid down.
If you're a Ravens and Chiefs fan, you're probably pretty excited about it, right?
Happy holidays. Congratulations. You got your big gift out from underneath the tree with a big dub. Those 2 teams trending towards the top of the AFC. You said week 17 was going to be decisive for a lot of different storylines.
Yeah.
And we're going to work our way through all the games and see what's at stake. And we're going to pick the games. And the show is going to pick the games against the spread, courtesy of our friends over FanDuel. That's what we do on every Thursday in season. Shall we?
We shall.
Okay. Tonight, there is a game tonight, which is a nice bonus. And then we get 3 games on Saturday, which is another nice bonus. We get a lot of football. A lot of standalone football to watch this week. Seattle at Chicago. Seattle is favored by 3.5 points on the road as they look to keep themselves alive going into next week.
Yeah, dude, I don't see much life out of Chicago right now. I just don't. And I think Seattle's got a lot on the line. I think Chicago's trying to get the season over. I think Seattle wins tonight.
I think it's much more for me about the state of affairs with Chicago than anything else. I know they scored some points late to make it respectable, but they're on an interim head coach who was an interim offensive coordinator before that. They just lost Braxton Jones with a broken leg. So injuries up front for a team that's had trouble with consistency and the McDonald defense. I know they were in a shootout against Minnesota last week, but they looked as though they'd started to turn the corner a little bit. So you can put me down for Seattle as well. And the show likes the Seahawks minus 3.5 on the road as well to cover. Takes us to the 1:00 game on Saturday. Chargers, Patriots. Chargers coming off of a Thursday. They were the Thursday game the week before. Comeback win against the Broncos. The Broncos scored touchdowns on their first 3 drives, and then the Chargers kind of figured it out. Patriots upset bid against the Bills last week. Turns out that 14.5 point spread was too big in a close game. New England's at home. I think there's some interesting weather and travel dynamics with this game. Chargers favored by 4.5. But I think the extra rest for the Chargers having played on Thursday helps to offset some of the concern that you have with them coming into this game against an upstart team trying to play spoiler.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that New England's certainly a scrappy team, but I think there's so much more on the line for the Chargers in this game. I do think that they come in and win it. There's certainly a path, right? I mean, New England can kind of run the ball a little bit. Drake May is a little bit of a gamer at times, but I think that the Chargers should be able to have some good success against this Patriots defense.
Are you at all worried about? I mean, they came alive against the Broncos running the ball, but they had a really ugly stretch of play for about a month before that. And I know the Patriots don't have Barmore, and best wishes to Christian Barmore, who had sounds like a setback with the issue that kept him out early in the season. But the Patriots, the one thing that you feel they're going to do decently well is defend. And I think you have to be able to have success in all phases to really get after New England. And the Chargers don't have the most dynamic separators in the passing game. So it's, for me, that's where, if there's an upset to be had here, the Chargers struggle to run the ball, having come from the West Coast to play outside in New England late in the year, close to New Year's Eve. I think that's the path. I think the Chargers are still a tough football team. So I'm a little less worried about it, but I just look at what their success has been running the ball, and I just ask the question if that's in the back of your mind at all.
Oh, I can see it for sure. I just feel like with what the Chargers need to get done with a rest advantage, I think they do it.
You can put me down for the Chargers as well, but the show does like the Patriots to cover the 4.5 at home. You told me that was a field goal game. I wouldn't be surprised.
Right, I agree. And Joey Sly, not a very good field goal kicker.
Right. The Broncos, the other AFC team looking to close the door. It's pretty straightforward for these teams, right? Win and clinch.
Yeah.
Because all the other teams are 7-8 knocking on your door. So you win one of the next two, you're good. You get that done, obviously, and you play standalone games on Saturday. You can have your moment in the sun. But they got to go to Cincinnati and play the Bengals.
Joe Burrow is playing quarterback at the highest level of any player in the NFL right now. I know that Denver's got a respectable defense, but I think Chase and Higgins and Burrow is just very difficult to deal with right now. I know that since he's got some defensive issues for sure, but I think they can get enough done here defensively against a rookie quarterback coming to Cincinnati where the Bengals will be able to outscore them.
Yeah, I think the pressure to continue to score. I know Denver is an outstanding defense, but I would take the Bengals to put points on just about anybody right now. It's a question of who makes more mistakes. And if there's pressure to score and keep pace, and the guy on the other side of the ball is a rookie quarterback, I don't like that formula for Denver. So right. I am with you. I think the Bengals are going to win this game at home and get back to 500. The show likes the Bengals to cover at home, a 3-point spread courtesy of FanDuel as well. Want to finish Saturday?
Yeah, get it in. Rams,
Cardinals.
Yeah.
Cardinals just falling apart, right? And meanwhile, the Rams are playing some of their best ball of the season the past month. So I am all in on the Rams. The show is all in on the Rams to cover 6.5, even though that's a big spread. It's at home. If it had been in Arizona, I think maybe it would be interesting to see where the show would have spit it out. But it sounds like you're riding the Rams as well. So everybody's riding.
Yeah, big time. I think the Rams, with their front defensively getting after Kyler, offensively how they're running the football against this Cardinals team that's just lacking talent up front, I think the Rams handily take this one.
Okay. So that's through Saturday for what is it, penultimate? Is that the proper?
Yeah, I'm not getting into that. I'm not sure. I never know what. Those words are always confusing for me. We will talk about the 1 o'clock slate, a robust slate of games here on the other side of it. Folks, be sure to stick with us. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions that you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? That definitely happened to me. I had a few subscriptions that I didn't even realize I was paying for, and Rocket Money made it easy to track them all down It's like having a personal assistant for your finances. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. It brings everything together in one place, whether it's subscriptions, your spending habits, or even the goals you want to hit this year. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 per year when using all of the app's premium features. And there's so many different things that you can use. They have the subscription tracker. They have a goals feature that you can automatically set up to set money aside for your future. There's no more stressing about budgeting every month. So cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. rocketmoney.com/lockedon.
Penultimate, by the way, was the proper word.
Nice job.
For that next to last.
Yeah.
Not a math guy, not an English guy, but we got that one down.
This is the penultimate week of the regular season.
Yes.
Wow.
That's correct. We should have put that in the right-hand third.
Yeah.
Penultimate showdowns.
How do you spell that?
Penultimate.
Wow. Penultimate. Wow. Like
Yeah.
the ultimate pen, like, an ultimate.
Anyway, our next game, Eagles-Cowboys. Eagles favored by 9.5.
Too much, maybe, right?
Is Jalen Hurts going to play?
Obviously, we need to have a caveat here.
Correct. I would not pick the Eagles to win if Jalen Hurts does not play.
You know what? I'm going Eagles no matter what. They're at home in this game. Yeah, and they need this one, right? Like, they need to be able to put some pressure on the other teams in contention for this 1 seed. They know that the Vikings and Lions play next week.
They're done. They're not going to get it.
Okay.
They're done.
Kenny Pickett? Kenny Pickett knows one thing. He says, if I'm getting in the lineup, I'm throwing the ball to Smith and Brown. Pretty smart, right? That's what I probably do. All right.
You're going to give yourself a lot more margin for error. Than,
except for that one time Smith let him down. But other than that,
well,
I mean, come on.
It's a good situation for a quarterback to walk into.
And I think the trenches here are different here. You know what I mean? Like, I'm in on the Dallas Cowboys. They're playing hard and tough, like hat tip, all that stuff. It's a different ball game here.
I am picking the Philadelphia Eagles with the assumption that Jalen Hurts plays. I will give you verbal and written confirmation when the Eagles' final injury report drops.
All right.
About the official status of this pick.
And I'm telling you that if Kenny Pickett starts, I'm sticking with the Eagles.
That's fine. And you're a braver man than me, but I'm also trying to make up games with 2 games left to play. Or with 2 weeks left to play. It's the penultimate week of the NFL season. I'm behind you by like 8 games.
All right.
And if I'm mathematically still alive, I might just pick opposite of you in every game week 18. But I don't want to get too reckless now if I'm going to try to chase you down.
All right.
So I am down for Philadelphia right now. Let's see what the injury report has to say. The show does like Dallas covering 9.5, though. Especially if this is a no Jalen Hurts game, be even more run-focused game. I think it may be a shorter game. The opportunity's not necessarily there. The Cowboys have found some ability to run the ball. Now, running the ball against Philly is a little different than running the ball against who they played. They're going to get light.
Vic's going to give them light boxes.
Yeah, in theory, but the talent's different.
Right.
The talent's different. So Dallas trying to get back to 500 too, for all this focus on the AFC teams like the Bengals and the Colts and the Dolphins trying to climb back. Dallas is in the same boat with a backup quarterback, no less. So they're playing some good football. Speaking of the Colts and the NFC East, Indy favored by 7.5 on the road against the Giants.
Colts.
What possible logic would anybody have to pick the Giants in this game?
Not based on the way they're playing. And you want to talk yourself into them being at home or something like that. It doesn't matter. They just don't have enough.
The sneaky subplot here
is Jonathan Taylor having 300 rushing yards?
The Giants do have a game lead in the draft order race. maybe now that they got a little bit of wiggle room, they come out and they punch up a little bit. I'm not expecting that, by the way. And I know their they don't want to risk it with the strength of schedule because they have a harder strength of schedule than every other team picking in the top 8. So the domino effect, if they pull themselves into a tie in the win-loss column, would not be pretty for them. So we're going to go ahead and ride who is Drew Lock healthy enough to play?
You could say any quarterback. It wouldn't matter.
The show likes the Colts to cover.
Every one of their quarterbacks, their entire body is hurt. Total body soreness.
Daniel Jones might have helped.
Right.
The Raiders and Saints, 2 teams picking currently in the top 10.
Can this game just not happen?
No, I want it to happen. I want to see the Raiders double down after the win that they had last week.
I think they are going to win. I think the Raiders win this game.
Yeah, because no matter who it is at quarterback, if it's not Derek Carr, I'm not picking the Saints.
Hayner, Spencer Rattler,
Derek Carr, obviously
no receivers available. Kamara's banged up.
Mm-hmm. Give me the Raiders.
Yeah.
Although the Raiders, to their credit too, we're without Max Crosby, we're without Christian Wilkins. Maybe the entire identity of that team is gone right now. Yeah. Give me the Raiders, though. And the Raiders favored by 1.5. The show likes the Saints to cover the +1.5 at home.
That Saints team they lost 34-0 against the Packers on that Monday night game or whatever, dude. They have zero life.
Well, the show does not believe in momentum. The show formula does not believe in momentum. It's simply
these guys are planning their vacation to the Maldives, man, you know?
And Darren Rizzi's got him at 5. Rizzi's 3-3? Is the interim, or 3-4 is the interim head coach?
Yeah, it's now week 17 though.
Yeah, you're right. It's first uncharted waters for Darren, for the Rizzler and the Saints. Very familiar territory for these next 2 teams, though, with their respective status. The Jets visiting the Bills. Buffalo favored by 9.5 points at home.
Yeah, Bills are in a situation where they win and they clinch the 2 seed, and then they can treat week 18 as their bye, which they need to do. The Bills win this game. If they didn't, boy, you'd have a lot of questions about the Bills and if they can really, go toe-to-toe with the Ravens and Chiefs in the AFC.
I think things are only going to get worse for the Jets. Now you're so close to the end. And now Rodgers has an MCL injury that he's playing through, and the coach was non-committal about whether he was playing, and Ulbrich, kind of mixed messaging there. And
I hope he does. I don't want to see Tyrod. I think it might be a better team with Tyrod.
And Garrett Wilson's mad, and Aaron says he hasn't talked to Garrett about his involvement in a couple of weeks, and Olu Fashanu's out for the year. I could see things just that being this close to the end for a team that had the expectations that the Jets did and has 4 wins at this point in the year. I could see this getting real ugly. And coincidentally, Joe, the show does like the Bills to cover 9.5 at home.
They always, I'd say that about Bills Jets. It feels like when the Jets are at their worst, they play the Bills the closest. But
I don't think that, but a lot of that's because of the defense and how they,
if they don't have Quinn and good night
and forced errors and
no Quinn and Williams, and it's going to be a wrap. The Bills might run the ball for 300 yards.
Jaguars Titans. Speaking of games that you just sim to end.
What are we doing here with these Titans, man? I'll tell you one team you and I have not figured out all year. It's what to expect out of Tennessee on a weekly basis.
They're going to get punished the next 2 weeks for it. I'm fading them both weeks. I don't care who they're playing. I'm picking the other team. So I'm picking Jacksonville at home, who's favored by 1.5 to win this game. The Mac Jones Jaguars versus the Mason Rudolph Titans.
Incredible, right? It's always dude, see these quarterbacks we matchups? We have freaking, what is it, Spencer Rattler / Jake Hayner against who's going to play quarterback for Aiden O'Connell, right, for the Raiders?
You have maybe Kenny Pickett versus Cooper Rush. You have Mason Rudolph versus Mac Jones.
Tough, man.
Yeah.
I'm picking the Jaguars.
You're picking the Jaguars. You're not going opposite me here.
No, you're welcome to change your pick, but I think
I will. I'm going to.
Okay. Might as well.
I'm fading the Titans. Well, I'm fading Joe. I'm fading
Hakuna Matata.
I'm fading Joe when he picks the Titans.
Yeah, you might as well. I mean, you might want to think about that Raiders-Saints game too, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to make up some games. I also don't want to do the Mike McDaniel thing where you're down 2 scores early in the third quarter. And
Kyle, that was one hell of an analogy right there.
Start going for it on 4th downs from your own 35-yard line on 4th and 12 because you're down 2 touchdowns with 21 minutes left in the game, and then you're going to look up and you give up 56 points. You say, "Oh, what happened? The defense sucks." It's like, well, no, you gave 3 drives to start on the plus side of the 40. You can't help yourself on 4th down.
That might be one of your finest moments in the history of the show. Was that analogy right there? That was perfect.
I can't stand
perfect.
It. So I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a hypocrite and sit here and hate that about Mike McDaniel and then do the thing. But I will fade you on the Titans. The show likes the Titans to cover plus 1.5.
All right, I'm supposed to get the break probably. That's when Kyle looks at me like that. It means I'm supposed to get the break. Stick with us. We got the rest of the games on the other side of it. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on the regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many different ways for you to pick up a dub. I love betting on which players will hit the over on stat projections and building parlays. It's thrilling. And not only can you bet on who will win the game, but FanDuel has bets for which players will score a touchdown, how many points each team will score, and so much more. And, of course, all the lines that we are discussing today come courtesy of FanDuel. So if you see something that's a little tasty, get in on the action. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
So, one big advertisement for FanDuel this entire show, because these are all their spreads.
Yeah.
Carolina in Tampa. Did you see the nickname they're running with for Bryce Young?
Oh, no, I've not. Tell me about it.
The Carolina Reaper. Because they've played.
Yeah, that would be cool if that was actually true.
Well, hold on. They've played some teams and gotten coaches fired after they lost to Carolina. And then they just knocked somebody out of the playoffs. Arizona. So it's like people have lost their jobs and their season after playing Carolina this year.
Yeah, that's not good. If they do this to the Buccaneers, then we can do it. We can go with that.
So you're buying the Carolina Reaper nickname. I think it has the opportunity to be the coolest thing that's ever happened for Bryce Young. And they asked him about it, and his response was, "It's kind of evil."
Right, that's very bright. See, that's the Bryce Young though.
Right,
that's freaking Bryce Young.
You could have just leaned into this, and it would have been the most badass thing about your brand as an NFL player. And he's like, "Oh man, it's kind of evil. I don't know."
Kyle, I'm pretty sure if Carolina wins this game, then the Falcons clinch the division, right? Because at best they could be.
Yes, the Bucs do not control their own destiny. They need the Falcons to lose another game. And then if you lose to Carolina, then you would go into Week 18
needing Atlanta would have to lose because they're both 8-7. Atlanta has a tiebreaker. So if the Falcons, they got a tough game on Sunday night, so it's not true. They could both lose this week.
It could, yeah. And then the Bucs would still need help again next week. But if the Falcons win and the Bucs lose, then it's done.
That's it.
So they have a chance to not directly, but indirectly end another season.
Not so fast.
Too bad the Bucs are going to win the game.
Bucs at home. Thanks for all the commentary we just had right there for us to pick the Bucs to win.
The show does like Carolina to cover plus 8.5.
Okay.
It's a large number. We've had a couple of large numbers. We've had 9.5, 9.5 again, 8.5. We're about to get a 6.5 with our next game. We have 7.5 with the Colts.
The one thing that we've learned about the 2024 Buccaneers is they're not above anything, right? You can really buy in and see some good high quality football and feel like they're awesome, but they don't get the benefit of the doubt. They haven't earned that.
Right.
So,
Dolphins at Browns, 4 o'clock. One of 2 4 o'clock games. We almost have standalone games at 4 Sunday night and Monday night. Again, after 5 standalone games 6 standalone games between CMS Thursday and Saturday.
Welcome to the 4 o'clock slate, Kyle Crabbs.
Yep.
What's your favorite slate to play in as a fan of a team that also has a million things to do postgame?
1 o'clock. 1 o'clock on Sunday.
I haven't had that since November 10th.
You can miss me with the primetime games and the short
suck
and the Saturdays and 8 o'clock kickoff that's not over till 11:30, and then you got to do your post game stuff. And if you're lucky, you're in bed before 1 o'clock. Not for me. Actually, that's a lie. I think the international time slot at 9:30 a.m. on.
Oh, that's the peak of life. Yeah.
You could finish, do the show. You probably be done by 1 o'clock and sit down and watch all the rest of the games.
Close to it. You probably missed maybe the first half. That's about it.
Right.
Dolphins win this game. You gave me the weather report, unless you were lying. It's 54 for the high, the lows in the low 40s.
41.
But I mean, you would like to think that doesn't matter. The Dolphins have a lot to play for. This is DTR, right? He's starting this game. Dolphins should be able to handle this one.
Yeah. Browns did not show a lot of life offensively. Now David Njoku's banged up for them. Dolphins got their offensive tackles back last week against San Francisco and promptly looked like a functional offense after getting embarrassed by Houston the week before. Sounds like they might get Jalen Waddle back for a team that is also fighting for their postseason aspirations. They can be eliminated on Saturday if both the Chargers and Dolphins win, or Chargers and Broncos win. But I think the home field element of this game is mitigated a little bit after it got flexed out of Sunday Night Football. And I think Miami has too many weapons offensively with the quick passing game to mitigate what Myles Garrett can bring to the table. And the show actually likes the Browns to cover plus 6.5 at home in this game. Vikings-Packers.
Finally, we get to these are the heavyweight games here this week, these next two, right?
Yep. I can't bring myself to do it. I've been trying to fade the Vikings in big games all season. I'd be a fool to not continue to not believe would they have a chance to go play for the 1 seed next week if they win this game. I'm picking the Vikings.
Well, I think you'll be pleased to know that I am organically picking the Packers. These two teams played earlier in the season. Jordan Love's on one leg or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I think I certainly have respect for the Vikings. I think they can win the game. But I think the second matchup favors the Packers, having that exposure to some of what Minnesota likes to do offensively and defensively. I think the Packers are playing a lot better football right now. Mm-hmm. Give me Green Bay. Well, and I say right now, I mean relative to where they were earlier in the season, not necessarily relative to Minnesota. Minnesota's playing well as well.
So I think what's interesting about this matchup the first time in Green Bay is the Packers still put up 465 yards of offense.
Yep.
Turned the ball over 4 times.
Won't happen again.
Lost by 2 points. Well, but Minnesota turned the ball over 3 times. So I think you'll see a lot cleaner game all around.
Sure.
Let's see. How's the penalties in this game? 8 for 68 and 7 for 55.
Kind of normal numbers, right?
It's a little high. That's higher than you want, right?
Right, yeah, but
the Vikings were 4 of 12 on 3rd and 4th downs. The Packers were 4 of 14 on 3rd and 4th downs. Well, I think you'll see a lot more efficiently played football on both fronts. But I will take the home team that has a chance to play for the big prize next week. And shame on the Vikings if this is a trap game because they're looking forward to Detroit. Shame on you, don't do that. But I'm picking the Vikings. Now, the show likes the Packers, plus 1.5. So I'm all by my lonesome on this one. Commanders, Falcons. Washington at home favored by 4.5 points. You remember that guy fought me about Terry McLaurin in August? That was fun. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. That was kind of some silly stuff there.
Top 20 wide receiver. And he's like, I think he's number 1 in the NFL in like EPA per target and like completion percentage over expectation. Like he's had an amazing season. And I foil that against a Falcons secondary that I have some concerns with. I think I'm going to pick Washington to win this football game.
I like Washington at home.
Dan Quinn Revenge Bowl.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's true. It'll matter a lot for them. And Penix is still really young. You know, I mean, this is like his second career start, obviously.
Going against the Dan Quinn defense, no less.
Right. Interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think Washington has kind of rose to the occasion here a couple of times lately that I really respect. They kind of have a clutch factor to them. I think they get this one.
I think they get this one too. The show likes the Falcons to cover plus 4.5 on the road, which leaves us with Detroit at San Francisco on Monday night.
What's up with the spread on this one?
You know, what do they know?
Right.
Kyle Shanahan came out, I think it was after the Dolphins game last week when they lost. And like they were officially eliminated about 10 minutes before kickoff from the playoffs. But Kyle was like, our guys know, like they knew the math of it, kind of felt like the week before they felt like they were done. And just kind of indirectly said that they were like wallowing about their season going into the Miami game. And now you got to play Detroit. And Detroit's favored by 3.5.
And they got to win. And Detroit has to win the game.
Detroit needs to win the game.
Right.
And they're breaking out the fumble Ruski against teams.
Dude, yeah, they got 2 or 3 of those plays every freaking week. Don't you know that the Lions are pissed off at everybody in the world? You think they're not pissed off at the team that cost them the Super Bowl last year? Come on now. The Lions are going to smoke them. Buy that spread up a little bit.
I am with you. And I am right alongside you hammering Detroit minus 3.5 as well. I don't care that it's in San Fran. It's a 6-9 football team that's as banged up as any team in football, limping home, and their head coach indirectly said they've been feeling sorry for themselves limping down the home stretch against
Yikes!
Against a team that can score in bunches.
Dude, the Niners run defense is terrible.
Yeah, you know you're bad when the Dolphins ran for 3 games worth of run. Joe, I didn't realize the broadcast Tony Romo told me last week. This is the worst 6-game stretch of rushing that the Dolphins have had in franchise history.
Okay, now that's aggressive, but we knew it was bad.
Yeah, I did not realize it was that bad, and I cover the Dolphins. And I'm like, dude, I watched Ryan Fitzpatrick lead the team in rushing in 2019.
Can't happen, right?
With like 350 yards.
That's crazy.
And this was the worst 6-game stretch the team's ever had in running the ball. They averaged like 45 yards a game.
Dude, the Niners have given up over 140 rushing yards to 4 of their last 5 opponents.
Mm-hmm.
Ugly. This game's going to be ugly. You want to stay up late. It'll be just like last Monday night. Go to bed at halftime. And
it could be like the games on CMS, too. You can watch about first 20 minutes.
CMS.
That's the 3rd time I've referenced it since we talked about it.
364 days away from the next CMS.
The next CMS football on Netflix.
Hey, real quick. Picture quality was nice on Netflix, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
It was a little cranked up. That was the one thing I noticed.
Yep. Didn't have any of the buffering issues that came with the Tyson fight.
Dude, but we got to stop on these kickoff returns. I do not want a close-up on the runner. That does nothing.
Yeah, go wide.
What are we doing?
We should do the end zone wide angle on that shot.
Anything.
Get the runner running towards the camera and see all the blocks developing. Because it's not like there's stuff happening out of the frame that's going to catch you by surprise.
Pointless.
All right. I digress. We got to get out of here. Kyle Crabbs, Joe Marino, we appreciate you guys as always for checking out the show. Make it a great rest of your day. We're out of here.